All right, so let's begin the show and let's talk about tax saving investment. That's right. The reason why we picked up this topic is we've seen the onboarding on the new tax regime has already hit up to 80 to 85%, which means very few people are now paying their tax as per the old tax regime. And there are reports that in the coming budgets or in coming time, we will soon see the old tax regime fading out. Now, in this scenario, you will be onboarded for the new tax regime. But what about your tax saving investments that you had actually started and were continuing as per the old tax regime? Should you be still using those investments? What are the kind of investments that you might want to give up, which are not really serving any purpose in your financial planning or in your financial portfolio, and you were just invested in those investments to get a tax benefit? So let's dissect this. A lot depends on the kind of strategies you have adopted for yourself. You know, for example, you have a goal-based investment done as per the old tax regime where you were investing, you know, for your daughter's education in Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana, or you were buying your insurance policies, etc. Which investments you should be continuing without getting any tax benefits, and why? We'll get you everything strategized today. I have with me Arnav Pandya, founder Moneyeduschool. Arnav, good evening and welcome to the show. So the onboarding in the new tax regime seems to be going up, and 80-85%, which means almost everyone has come down to the new tax regime now. Talking about tax benefits investments that people were availing as per the old tax regime, that's obviously done away when you come to the new tax regime. But how important it is for you to consider or maybe just identify those tax saving investment that you might want to continue? A lot of people, were doing tax saving investments just for saving their taxes. You know, this includes investments like ELSs a lot of times. It's still an equity linked saving scheme, so you might just get some benefit by participating in equity there, and you can still align it to a financial goal. But people were also buying insurance, and especially investment products in insurance that had tax benefits were also being taken by people and policyholder in the name of life insurance. What are the kind of investments that one can actually give up on putting their money in and maybe consolidate a new financial portfolio or just revamp their entire financial portfolio as per their financial goals?
Good evening, Kavita. So, one has to go and take a complete look at each of the items which have been taken into the portfolio as far as tax saving investments are concerned. And this is important because you will need to evaluate each of these items to see whether they still have relevance for you. Because there'll be two things that will happen here. One is that there will be some items which still meet your goals, your economic and financial goals which have been set. And when they meet that, then you can continue with these kind of investments. The other is that this kind of inventory taking of each specific item will also show you, or which will give you a more clearer picture of where you need to make the changes. And the other point is very important, which is that there will be several cases where you might want to make a change, but you still might not be able to do so because of various reasons. Let us take just some of these cases and look at what can continue, what cannot continue. There are some big ticket purchases, like, say, a house, which has been bought either for staying in it or maybe it is for some future use. In these cases, even though there is a tax benefit which is significant and which might go away in the new tax regime because it's not available there, it's less likely that you are going to sell off a house just because the tax benefit has gone. The smarter thing to do is evaluate this option over a longer time frame to see how much of the loan is outstanding, what is the purpose for which you have bought the house, and whether it still fits in with your needs. The strategy that one can adopt there is to maybe repay the loan faster if it is possible, or continue with the schedule as it is without the benefit of the tax saving coming in. If you go on to an area like, say, health insurance, what is going to happen is that no matter what, you and your family member, each of them needs health insurance coverage to protect the entire family from medical emergencies and financial impact that it can throw. So tax benefit on such health insurance policies were just an added gain that you were getting. Health insurance needs to be adequate and it needs to be continued. If you go towards life insurance policies, what you will see there is that there might be several products within this category which are there in your portfolio. You need to see whether you, first of all, have the adequate cover in terms of life uh, sum assured. And if that is not there, you must first look towards building that cover. Then you will have to evaluate which all type of policies are there in your existing portfolio. And this will clearly throw up several of them if they have been just bought for tax saving purposes. The problem here with life insurance policies is that unlike many other areas where it might say like an NSC or even in some cases where you make a one-time ELSS investment, if you have taken a life insurance policy, you will have a premium paying obligation for the entire term which is there. And this is the problem because in some cases, say you've got an ULIP, then there will also be a 5-year lock-in which is there. So even if you want to, you might not only be able to get out, but you might still have to go and pay premium for a specific time period. So this is one area where you will have to do a lot of work and ensure that the entire situation is clear from your side in terms of what to do and what steps you should take.
Talking about ELSS, now a lot of people have invested in it for a tax benefit. Now, since you are in the new tax regime and there is a lock-in of 3 years, once it is getting done, even if it is a lump sum mode investment that you've done in an SIP, can the investor look at other regular funds, or they should continue investing in ELSS even after the lock-in period is over?
No, so there are two things here. One is that the moment you shift to the new tax regime, there is no tax benefit or the tax deduction for investing in the ELSS. So, ideally, there is no question of now buying an ELSS after you have shifted to the new tax regime, because one, not only are you not getting the deduction, but unnecessarily you are having a 3-year lock-in. Now, the question comes on the second part, which is that what about existing investments? If there is an existing investment which has completed its time period of the lock-in, then you have a choice of moving it to some other fund. But at that point, you need to take a look specifically at that particular ELSS. How is it performing? Because if you are anyways going to move it to another diversified equity fund, and if both the schemes are either performing similarly or if the ELSS is better, you might want to continue for some time and then pull it out later. At least now you have the luxury of taking the money out whenever possible. But as far as new money is concerned, ideally, it should go towards your diversified equity portfolio. You have to create a well blended and diversified portfolio, and that is where the money should go, because obviously these funds will not have a lock-in, so it gives you more flexibility. And without the tax benefit, there is no point in moving towards such schemes.
What about investing in schemes where you have an EEE, exempt benefit? We are talking about PPF over here, and to a large extent, even insurance policies where that have the investment component in them.
So if you are looking at the overall picture, and here you have to go back to the fact that are your investments aligned with the goals which you have set? In that case, in investment options like the Public Provident Fund, the Sukanya Samriddhi Scheme, which are EEE in nature, could very well fit into your retirement planning needs. The Sukanya Samriddhi Scheme could be for used for the education of the girl child specifically. So these kind of investments, it makes sense for you to continue with them till the time that your goal is reached or the scheme matures. So these are options where you should be continuing because it fits in with your specific financial goals. When it comes to insurance policies, you might have an investment product, but uh, does it actually help you in achieving a specific goal? Because you might have just taken it for the purpose of tax saving and with the assumption or with the thinking that it will also give you an investment return. But in those cases, if it is just been taken for tax saving purposes, the smarter thing to do is to use that money effectively to meet your goal by buying into uh, areas or buying into specific products where it achieves your financial goal.
All right. Now, talking about aligning certain investments to your financial goals, because even in the old tax regime, we have our ATC, we have the ATCCD, these kind of sections where people were investing for tax benefits. Now, having said that, what are the specific investment instruments, maybe in a Sukanya Samriddhi or a PPF for retirement, that you might want to include in your financial portfolio? How can one decide and how can one place them in terms of exposure also? For example, if it's a retirement goal, you might want to continue investing in a PPF, but what should be the overall exposure of investment in that particular investment instrument, considering you have a diversified approach for a goal like retirement or maybe a child's education where you want to use a Sukanya Samriddhi, which is a debt or a fixed income product. You might want to have an equity to it. So is it also the time for you to rethink about having a diversified strategy for a particular financial goal and then also have these kind of instruments aligned to it, since you were already investing, but then that was when you had the tax benefit and now you don't?
Well, ideally, if you already had these instruments in your portfolio, they should have been for a specific goal. But assume that you have not made that link yet. So this is the time when you need to actually go and look at each goal and see what all comes under it. Because the normal preference is that if you have a specific goal, you should not just rely on one particular investment to achieve that goal, because things can change, things can go wrong with a particular investment. It might not perform as expected. So it's always better to have several instruments or options within that which help you achieve the goal. Specifically, when it comes to longer term goals, you mentioned retirement. Retirement is a big goal where you will need a large corpus. So it is evident that you will need a hybrid approach, which is a mixture of debt and equity. How much debt, how much equity, that will keep changing as your age progresses. But for that, an equity and a debt option is required. So in that case, when you have an option like PPF, which gives you a tax-free return, it is most likely, or you can include it for the debt exposure that you want for your retirement. At the same time, for the equity exposure or for even additional debt exposure, because you have to remember that both PPF as well as Sukanya Samriddhi puts a limit on how much you can invest each year. It's 1,50,000. So you might be using, say, PPF for the debt part of the goal, but that still might not be enough. So you will need to add other options also, including the equity options, and then keep changing the mix as time progresses. So similarly, I mean, when it comes to Sukanya Samriddhi and the goal of education of the girl child, you also need to evaluate whether that amount by itself is enough. Because providing and planning for this by using this instrument is a good sign. It's definitely a positive thing. But it should also be good enough in terms of the amount to achieve your goal. So you might want to look at other options also to add to this mix, and which is how you're going to create your overall portfolio so that it then completely aligns with your uh, goals that you want to achieve. But the most important thing is that just because tax benefit is not there, one should not stop investment saying that there's no use of doing it, because this kind of approach is often taken by a lot of people. And the other thing is that discipline is now very, very important, because if you slip up on that front, then it's far easier to keep postponing the investment decision, saying that time is there, I will do it later. But you are losing valuable time. So do not, because tax benefits are not forcing you to make the investment, do not keep postponing the investment, continue with them. Just ensure that the right mix is present.
All right, Arnav, a lot of aspects that one might want to consider once they are on board as per the new tax regime. But then, yeah, be it tax saving or non-tax saving investment, do remember to align all your investments with your investment goal, with your financial goal. That will be all on the show today. Thank you so much, Arnav, for being on the show and helping our viewers with all of these planning.